let's get started. So, how was everybody's Easter? If you celebrate Easter, did you do anything fun? Um, let me know. Um, I took my daughter to a princess Easter egg hunt and she loved it. Like, that was really good. And it was just something last minute that I happened to come across and knew that she would love it. So we went and did that. And then we just had a nice Easter together on Sunday. And the kids got their Easter baskets and everything. So it was fun. And my daughter and I decorated eggs on Friday. And so we had a good time. But let me know what you guys did, if you did anything fun. All right. So today we are talking about why I believe our favorite foods should not be off limits. And before we get into the different reasons, I wanted to tell you a story. And this story is really how I came to start believing this. Way of eating, and this why we should not say that our favorite foods should be off limits, or why we should forbid whole food groups or certain foods and things. And I know that everyone, you have to do what's best for you. So if you feel like that is what's best for you, to put foods off limits or to eliminate food groups, then you have to do what's best for you. And I'm not judging you for that, but this is just how I came to realize that that was not what was best for me. So, when I was 28 years old, I had just had my son, and when he was about 4 months old, and I was wanting to lose the baby weight. Like, I had lost some, but I had not lost all of it. And so I was wanting to lose a significant amount of weight. And I thought the way to do it was to start really just cutting out all the stuff that I thought was like bad, right? Like all the sweets, all the processed foods, all the junk, which is good. We do want to do that. Like, we are going to have better health if we do that, right? But it comes at a price. It's not always, it can backfire. Let me just say that. So that's what I did. I cut out all the processed foods, and I ate whole foods from that's what I told myself. I was going to cut out all the processed foods and just eat whole foods, and then I would lose the weight. And for the first few months, I was really motivated. Like, I did very well with this. Like the first 3 months of doing this, I did really well with it. Because I had a trip coming up. Me and my husband were planning a trip, and I wanted to have a good amount of weight off by then. And so that was my motivation. And I really did well with it. I really stuck to it. I lost all the weight that I wanted to. I think I even lost a few pounds more than what I was wanting to. And so I was feeling really good by the time that trip came. And I pretty much told myself, okay, well, I'm just going to enjoy myself on this trip because I've done really well. I deserve it, So I rewarded myself. I ate dessert. I drank alcohol. I had a great time and enjoyed whatever foods that I wanted to. And I didn't feel guilty about it. Like, it was different because I was so used to eating the other way, like no no alcohol, no sugar, all whole foods and things. And so, but I really did enjoy myself. And I think I went a little bit overboard because it had been 3 months or so since I really had eaten anything like that. And I was feeling deprived. So I was feeling like, well, I'm just going to live it up, right? And so I was like, well, I'll just get back on track once I get home. And that would have been fine, right? It would have been fine to just enjoy my vacation and get back on track when I got home. But the problem was I couldn't get motivated to get back on track. I couldn't, it was like I think it was because I was so deprived for so long that I just couldn't imagine going back to that, right? And so I would have times where I would, like a few days or a week, and then I would go back to eating some junk or whatever. And so that story, that time in my life was really what caused my cycle of yo-yo dieting and binging. That is the time in my life that I started yo-yo dieting, and then when I would feel so deprived, I would binge. So, and then I realized later in life, like a few years later, that actually, like probably like 8-10 years later, that this cycle was because I was letting myself get too deprived. I was depriving myself on these strict diets, or it wasn't always a diet that I was on. It was just I would cut out food groups, or I would cut out my favorite foods, and they were just off limits for me. And then I would just get to where I felt so deprived that I would just I would quit, and then I would start binging on all that stuff because I wanted it so bad. Like I was craving it so bad because I didn't let myself have it for so long. And a lot of that I think was mental. Like if I had not came out and said, like, this is off limits, you cannot have this, then I wouldn't have wanted it as much, right? But because I was telling myself something was off limits, I wanted it that much more. And we're going to talk about that more later. So I realized later on in my health journey that I'd been letting myself get too deprived for too long. And that's what was causing me to go on binges, like just eat up everything, which led to me gaining weight, right? Naturally led me to gaining weight and causing my blood sugar to get unbalanced. So even though I was keeping by dieting a lot, by restricting a lot, I was keeping a pretty good handle on my weight. I would fluctuate probably 10, 15, 20 pounds. I wouldn't gain usually more than 20 pounds before I would just go back to a diet or go back to like restricting things. So like you wouldn't know it by looking at me, right? Because I would never get more than like 20 pounds more, I wouldn't gain more than 20 pounds. And so, but what I didn't realize is it was also causing my blood sugar to become unbalanced. Hey, thanks for joining. Okay, I will let me get through these tips and I will answer your question. But yeah, I was gaining weight, but I was this yo-yo dieting and binging was also causing my blood sugar to get unbalanced. So how many of you guys can relate to that? Like, let me know in the comments if you can relate to that. Put a heart or an emoji or something if you can relate to feeling deprived, yo-yo dieting, and then like wanting to eat up everything because you've, restricted yourself. So this experience is really what taught me that putting foods off limits was not a good idea. Not for me anyway. I think it's different for like different personalities. But for me, I really learned through my health journey and through all these things that I tried. I really learned that putting foods off limits was not good for me. It was not good for me. It really affected me mentally. So for me, once I say I can't have a certain food or cut out food groups, then I get into that desperation way of thinking. And the food or the food group that I tried to cut out is all that I can think about. So have you ever noticed when you cut out a certain food or a food group, the more delicious it sounds? Like, do you guys ever notice that? Like, if you say, "Oh, I'm not having any more sugar, no more dessert," and then that's like it sounds even more delicious or smells even more delicious when you cut it out. So I want to talk about why forbidding foods are preventing you from losing weight and give you some solutions. So let's talk about it. So the first reason it's not a good idea to put foods you enjoy off limits is because, like for me, it causes binge eating. For a lot of us, it causes binge eating. Like when we finally let ourselves have something or we finally feel so deprived, it causes us to eat way more of it than we would normally if it had not been off limits to us, right? So like I can't imagine not having cake or ice cream or bread. Like I can't imagine those foods not being in my life, at least occasionally. And if I felt like I couldn't enjoy those foods every now and then or once in a while, I would start obsessing over them. And that's what I used to do. And that makes it even harder to resist them for me. And eventually I would run out of willpower and give in. So that's the first reason why you should not just put all your favorite foods off limits, because it can cause you to binge eat. But you wouldn't, not just you wouldn't just give in, but you would binge on those foods, and who knows for how long, right? Because I would have, like, if I didn't have them for like 2, 3, 4 months, then I would go months binging on them, and then gain all that weight back. So you can't just say like, oh, I'm just going to binge on them for one day and because it makes it hard when okay, I just feel so deprived. I just can't get motivated to get back to it. And that's why a lot of us say, oh, I got to get back on track, or I fell off the wagon. That's where those sayings come from, because that's what we feel like when we've restricted ourselves for so long, is we feel like we've fallen off the wagon or we have to get back on track. And it's sometimes hard to motivate ourselves because we feel so deprived when we're on those restrictive plans, right? So my solution has been to plan for those foods, but also set limits. So, because I have a sweet tooth, but I also have a history of binging on sweets, I now know that my sweet spot is 2 desserts a week. So I I don't forbid those foods. I have a limit for those foods. Does that make sense, you guys? So I know that I can have two desserts a week, and that is my sweet spot because I don't feel deprived when I know that I can have two of my favorite foods a week, but I also have a limit to that. It's not like I can have one every day or, just eat as much as I want. I have a limit. And so that has really worked for me. It's really given me freedom and flexibility and balance, but also, I don't go overboard. So this is enough to satisfy me, to keep me from feeling deprived without going overboard, where it starts affecting my health again, because that's what I don't want. I don't want I don't want my eating to start affecting my health, my blood sugar, my weight, and things like that. So this is what I do. This is the solution that I came up with for me, to help me enjoy my favorite foods, but have limits on them, but not, say they're off limits. So, the next reason that food restriction can make you start, it can make you start to idolize it. It can make you start to when you restrict it too much, you give it too much power. It has too much power over you, and I've felt that way too. Like I just felt like out of control around sugar. In the past, I felt like it just had too much power over me. So how many of you feel like that sometimes, like that you just, you love a food so much, that it has so much power over you, and you don't have any self-control around it. So we all know that cake isn't the best use of our calories, right? So it makes sense why we would want to cut it out, right? But if it's a food that you really enjoy and you cut it out, then we think about it. We think about it a whole lot more than we used to, right? And we're pretty much telling our brain that that food has a lot of power when we do that. So instead of cutting out your favorite foods forever or for a long period of time, switch your thinking. So instead, I want you to tell yourself, I am a person that nourishes my body with nutrient-dense food and occasionally eats cake. Because that is a better way of thinking than saying, oh, I'm cutting out all these foods. This is forbidden. This food is not good for me. It's forbidden. Instead of saying that this food is bad and I can't have it, you just say, I'm a person that nourishes my body with nutrient-dense foods and I eat cake occasionally. And that is going to do so much more for your mental health and for you staying on track instead of getting on track, falling off, getting on track, falling off. You want realistic things that you can do long term, not this short term thing, then you fall off, short term thing, then you fall off, and saying that you can never have a food again or you can't have it for a year, whatever, however long you plan on being on a health journey, like that's just so unrealistic. So instead, just say more positive things like what I told you. And this way of thinking is going to set you up for healthier and more balanced habits. And it doesn't give so much power to the cake or the bread or whatever it is that you enjoy. It doesn't give that food so much power. You feel in control with that food. You don't feel out of control around that food. So, And then my last reason for why you shouldn't make foods off limits is that it doesn't teach you moderation. So once I finally allowed myself to enjoy my favorite foods without feeling guilty, I lost the desire to overeat them. So once I stopped stressing about it and I stopped having so much drama around, like not eating the food, but then when I did eat it, I felt guilty and I would like beat myself up over it. No, I finally just let it be. When I did enjoy it, I really enjoyed it and I didn't feel guilty. And uh, that really helped me not you know, feel bad. It helped me not stress. It helped me, but it also helped me with my desire to overeat it. So I didn't feel like I had to overeat those foods. I could just have a normal amount, a few bites, or like one piece of cake, or one scoop of ice cream or whatever, and I felt fine. There was no drama around that food, right? So I went from binging and feeling guilty for eating sweets to really savoring them without the guilt. And that is so much better to me. It's so much better to feel that way and to really be able to enjoy those foods when you do eat them instead of feeling guilty for eating them and beating yourself up about it and just having all that drama around the food. So you want to be able to enjoy your foods, enjoy foods that you love in moderation, but without feeling guilty every time you eat them. So doesn't that sound much better? Let me know in the comments. And so switching your mindset from guilt to enjoyment will help you moderate your eating and get to a place where you feel in control around that food. So, it's really a lot of it is really just psychological. It's the way we're thinking, it's our mindset around food. If we can use these tips and switch the way we're thinking about it, it can really help us create a more sustainable lifestyle that we can live with like long term and not feel like we're always falling off and having to get back on. So hopefully these 3 tips help. So setting yourself up for deprivation by cutting out the foods you enjoy increases your chances for failure because it's hard to stick with that forever. It's hard to stick with these rules where we, set foods off limits and deprive ourselves and things like that. It's really hard to stick with forever. And so we shouldn't do it. If we want a long-term sustainable plan, we shouldn't do this. So I hope this advice helps you switch your mindset and get you to a healthier place with food. But if you're saying, Jen, I've tried changing my mindset. I've tried everything to lose weight and to get healthy, and I just need some personalized help. Then I'm going to leave my link to my calendar down below in the comments. And that link will take you to my calendar where you can sign up for a free strategy call with me. And on this call, we will talk about your biggest issue that is going on for you. And we'll make a personalized strategy to help you overcome that issue. So I will give you some things that you can do to help you overcome the issue that you're having. So I will leave that link below and you can click it and find a time that's right for you. And you guys, thank you for joining me. Let me read this real quick. Thanks a lot for the info. What do? I really love carbs like fries, green bananas, and pounded maize meal flour. When I avoid the 3, my weight decreases. Recently, I really craved for the maize meal, and now I feel I'm putting on weight. Yeah, so You have to find your sweet spot with that. You have to find, so you love these foods and you should be able to work them in your weekly or monthly plan, whatever works best for you. And if you notice that you're gaining weight when you eat these things, then just have them less often. Just put limits on them. Like my first tip, I love dessert, and so I put limits on that, but I was still able to eat it enough so to where I don't feel deprived. So that's just what you have to do with these foods. If you feel like, okay, I love them, but they're causing me to have health issues or causing me to gain unwanted weight, then, just put a limit on them. How often can you have those foods? Where you don't feel deprived, but it's also not affecting your weight. So that's what I would look at. And it may take some experimentation, like, can you have it once a week? Can you have it once every 2 weeks? Do you need it twice a week? What is it for you? And then see if you still gain weight, even when you put limits on it, then you just need to keep testing and keep, even like, write it down, keep a food journal so you can look back on it and say, okay, if I ate this meal flour that I love once every 2 weeks, I don't feel deprived, and I really enjoy it. But I'm not saying it's off limits. I just only need to have it only. I can just have it once every 2 weeks and still feel satisfied. So hopefully that helps you and answers your question. And I really appreciate you asking the question and letting us know a little bit about what's going on with you. And I appreciate you joining me for my live. And you guys, just if you have any other questions, you feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them. All right. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will see you next Tuesday. Bye.